You. I'm hoping you guys can hear me. I have my computer over there, so I'm going to check to make sure that I'm not botching this. I want to talk to you guys about RunForm. Today is the last day for our annual promotion where we discount our run analysis. So if you're interested in having us help you with what I'm about to teach, make sure you check out the link in this post because you'll go directly to the page that will get you to save 20% on our analysis. If you're interested in having us help you, just so you know, you have a full year to upload. You don't need a treadmill. You can run outside for this. All the details are on the page in the link. So what I want to talk about is 4 steps to improving your run form. Now this is going to be like a high-level overview. I'm going to give you some really good tidbits of information, and I'll try to mark where I'm at in this. So if you come on late or you want to come back, I'll just kind of put an arrow of what I'm talking about. So what I want to start with is understanding bad habits. So we're going to start right here, and then we're going to come back and we're going to keep moving down this list. I don't know why I'm drawing out that arrow because I have to erase it with my hand at some point, and it's going to be a disaster. All right, so what you need to know is that nobody's run form is perfect, and that what you're trying to do is you're trying not to be really terrible in your run form, especially if you're a runner over the age of 40, 50, 60. Most of the time, that's the runners that we work with, and the goal is, yes, to get better, but also to continue running for a really long time because you just enjoy it. It's part of you, it's part of your life. But when you start to get a little older, you want to start identifying things that are going to cause problems. There's a speed component to this, and there's also just an injury prevention piece to this. So you want to start being able to understand bad habits that running is very unique. Every step you take further ingrains the bad habit into the system. So I talked about this in a previous post, but if you were going to go, next time you go put your shoes on, let's say, you don't have to look down and do the loop, swoop, and pull. In fact, the next time you put your shoes on, you might not even realize that you tied them. You just kind of go through the motions. The same thing if you've ever driven to work on a non-work day because you were taking that route. You're just going through what we call a habit loop. It's also in the medical community called dorsal streaming. You're just kind of on autopilot. And if you've ever gone for a run and you're like, I just kind of zoned out and I got through it, it was great, my mind was wandering, you're just running habit loops at that point. You're not thinking, take a step, take a step, take a step. You're just going through the motions. Unfortunately with running, and all the steps that are taken, that habit gets really, really ingrained, and you develop, even if your run form is Phoebe Buffay running through Central Park, hopefully someone knows what I'm talking about because that's going to be really awkward if you don't, but if you're running really awkward, if you did it long enough, it would eventually feel normal because that's the role of your body and your muscles and your brain is to make systems efficient through repetition. So if your run form is really garbage, it's going to feel normal. And that is something everyone should know, is that your bad habits, when done long enough, they will feel normal. That also means that we go to change them and we start to learn new habits. They're going to be more tiring. They're going to feel a little bit more difficult to do. They're going to feel strange and not sustainable until you get better habits. We'll talk about that in a minute. So just know, bad habits are really tough. They're really ingrained in runners. They need to be fixed, but just because you're running and you feel really smooth doesn't mean that you don't have something to work on, particularly if you find yourself consistently injured. So the next thing I want to talk about is how do you identify your issues? Real quick, if you want, before I forget, I'm going to talk about it a couple times here. If you want our help, today's the last day to save 20% on a run analysis. You send us your videos, you have a full year to do it. We'll look at them, tell you what to fix, how to fix it, and send them back to you. And you don't even need a treadmill. That's the big question everyone has. There's a link in the post if you're interested. Today's the last day. So next thing I'm going to talk about is how do you identify these issues? This is a tough thing, and I'll talk about the most common issues, but in this section what I want to talk about is identifying the issues. Our team that does the analysis are physical therapists, so we've been with runners. I've been a PT for 11 and a half years now. Pat O'Connor, who does a lot of our analysis, has been over 20 years as a physical therapist helping solely runners. So how do you identify it? We can identify because we've gone through a lot of the schooling to understand this, but there's some things that you can look at. Like a lot of people are familiar with foot strike and shuffling and different things. There's 2 apps I'd recommend here. I'll write them down for you guys. Let's put them over. I don't want to erase my arrow. Oh no. Okay, so the first one is Coach's Eye. Coach's Eye. And the other one is Hudl. Hudl Technique. You need the full thing, by the way. Technique app. And you need to put app in there too. There's a paid version and a free version. The Coach's Eye is one we use. It's a great app. It is about $4.99, I think, to get started. But these 2 things allow you to film yourself, or a friend or a child can film you running, and then you'll be able to slow it down. It's tough if you don't know what you're looking at, and you can actually probably get in trouble with that. But a lot of our runners use these apps after we show them what's going on. They'll capture video and go out and look and see, am I doing it right? Am I doing it incorrectly? But these two apps are the go-to apps to helping yourself identify issues and to recheck. So typically, like I said, most of our runners, they'll get the analysis with us, and then they'll use these two apps to follow up to see how they're doing. But we'll talk about the most common issues here as far as what you can identify. So you get these apps, you load your video in, what are you looking for? The first thing is really, there's a lot of things we look at: arm position, carry, lean, foot strike, strength and stuff. I want to give you the top three. The first one is foot strike. So a lot of people are familiar with like heel striking. Am I a heel striker or am I not a heel striker? Move this down. We're talking about this one now. A lot of people know I'm a heel striker or I'm not a heel striker. What you're actually looking here is to make sure that you're landing on a bent knee. You don't want your knee completely locked out and turn it into a battering ram. So be very careful. But foot strike is a really important place to start, and it's a really easy place to start for people. We'll talk about how do you make better habits here in a minute. But foot strike is the first thing we always look at, or something we always consider when we're talking and looking at runners. The next thing, man, I just did not plan out all this space. Give me one sec. I'm really utilizing the full whiteboard here. It says fixing flaws and bad habits. I'm gonna move this down so I don't forget. Fixing flaws, good enough. So foot strike is one, and then we love to look at right-left balance. Now this is tough because if you're analyzing your own run form, you're not really sure what to look like. This is a lot of what we do as physical therapists, is looking at, is one side balanced compared to the other, and if it's not, what's causing it. But the simple thing to do is to get yourself a back view of you running, and when your foot is right underneath you, so maybe your left foot's right underneath your left hip, you want to look to see how level is your pelvis, how level is your spine curving, and you usually can see that with one shoulder dropping. And then an easy way too is to look at your arm position. Is one tucked in and one kicked out? Is your hip dropping a lot compared to the other side? That's the big thing. So I'll write here just to give you guys some notes, and you can screenshot this at the very end. Right-left balance, pelvis drop. And just know that your pelvis should drop. Everyone is in super big fear that they have weak glutes when their pelvis drops, but it's gonna drop a little bit. Pelvis drop, shoulder alignment. I'm just gonna write shoulders, and then arm symmetry. Those are the three things that we tend to look at. There's a lot of other things, but that's an easy place for you guys to start. Again, if you're just joining me, Coach's app and Huddle Technique app are two great apps to help with that. And then the third thing that we always look at is one of many things, which is shuffling. So if you're a shuffler, you scuff your feet a lot. A lot of times it's because you're not running from the hips. You're kind of getting lazy, and you're not calling you lazy, but your run form is lazy. Take it for what it's worth. But shuffling, you don't pick up your feet. You're not really getting a lot of drive in your run form, and you're not running from your glutes and your core. When you learn to open your stride, you learn to break away from shuffling in your run form, you turn on your glutes, your real powerful speed muscles is what we look at here. So those are the three most common things we look at. There's a host of others, but if you're gonna do it yourself, take a look at those. If you want our help, by the way, there's a link in this post. Today's the last day to save 20% on our run analysis. You don't need a treadmill, and you can upload anytime in the next year. The last thing we're gonna talk about, and then I'm gonna close this baby out, and we're gonna start talking about other things tomorrow. And I'm gonna talk about fixing flaws, and this is supposed to say bad habits. So somewhere along the line, it has been passed down, and I was guilty of it, that it said that people thought it took 21 days to break a bad habit. I went out and found the research and said that was false. It's actually about 10 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks to fix to learn a new habit. So what that means is that if you're going to improve your run form, you need to A, know what you're doing, and B, be consistent and persistent. Every time you're working on a run form change, you need to do it long enough to allow your body to learn that change. So what we like to do is we call them big rocks. Because if you're gonna go after multiple things all at once, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble, and you're gonna be really confused and frustrated. Identify one thing that you can start working on, and start working on it. Give it time, because this is a long game of improving your run form. So Identify one thing you want to start working on, give it enough time. Do not try to overwhelm yourself with multiple things. And even what we like to do is coach our runners through just make the change and come back. Make the change and come back, because when you're fixing these flaws and bad habits, what ends up happening is it feels really foreign. At the top of this video, I talked about understanding bad habits, that even if you run horribly, it could feel natural for you. And when we start to change your run form, what'll end up happening is you'll feel really awkward. You'll feel really uncomfortable. It'll feel funny. It'll feel like you're more tired because you're learning the new habit. You're learning a different way. And I can tell you, once you learn the new way, what ends up happening is you start to be a lot more confident, comfortable, and sustainable in that. But it takes consistency. It takes time. Usually we see anywhere between 4 to 8 weeks for our runners to start learning the new way. Research says 8 to 10 weeks, I think, the last time when I looked at it. So take it for what it's worth, but I think the key thing for you guys, if you missed any of this video, go back and watch from the start. I put this little arrow based on what I was talking about, but make the change. Work on your run form. Right now, you know, there's not a lot of racing going on. It's a perfect time to go out and go through a run and just start making some small tweaks to things. If you want our help, we'd love to help you. We've been doing this for 10 years, helping lots of runners. There's a link in this post to save 20% on our run analysis. We only do this once a year. You don't need a treadmill, and you have a full year to upload your videos, so you can do it at a time that works for your running or your life. With that, we are closing out this. The offer in this link for 20% off ends tonight at midnight Pacific time. So if you want to join us, we look forward to seeing you. And I hope everyone has a great night. And hopefully my mic was working this entire time. All right, everyone, have a great night. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.